Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Thursday, the 9th of October. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry. How goes it, Joshua?
Goes fine. Yeah, we had a Rangers Review team day yesterday, Derek, didn't we?
Yeah.
So Elvino did float. We played five-a-sides together too the day before. And there is a managerial hunt ongoing. So
Yes.
busy times, but hope everyone is well and lots to get into.
Yeah, it was good. I've enjoyed my little jaunt back up the road, and good couple of good days. You're heading back down on the old choo-choo a little later on. But before we do that, we're talking about Rangers, of course. And a quick word before we dive into the news for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing trade, so no job is too big or too small for these guys. They offer free consultations, and you also get 10% off with the code Rangers Review over on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Righty, let's get to it then, Joshua. The managerial hunt is hotting up. Stephen Gerrard, we had a piece on the website yesterday. You've got a piece on this morning as well, which we'll dive into. But Stephen Gerrard has flew in for talks about the managerial vacancy since Russell Martin was dismissed on Sunday evening. And he's set for a round of talks with Andrew Kavanagh, Parag Marathi, the chairman and vice chairman, and Greta Steinson as well. What do you make of this?
What I make of this is it's developing quite quickly. As you say, we had that update on the website yesterday, and it's been widely reported elsewhere too. Probably important to say this didn't happen in the summer. Our understanding is that there were some initial inquiries about Gerrard in the summer, but there wasn't this formality of jetting in for talks, which I know is jetting and is a word that we just love to use in the media, isn't it? There's others being talked to. That's what Rangers sources say, suggesting that there is no favoured candidate. I would look at the list of options available and suggest that if there is not, there ought to be. And we'll get into today, Derek, a little bit perhaps of the complications that could surround this, surrounding Stephen Gerrard coming back to the club. I think it would be the right appointment. Personally, just to get that out of the way. Danny Röhl is another name that was involved in that process in the summer, and we understand is involved too. The argument against Danny Röhl at the moment would be, can Rangers afford another project appointment, so to speak? I don't think they've really got the capital for that. So let's see how it develops. We'll keep people up to date as best we can. Seems to me like there's a lot of, this would be the popular choice. This would be the obvious choice. The question that I think we'll delve into a little bit today, Derek, is what does this say about the summer talk of processes and executives being beefed out and the head coach being more plug in and play, and the things don't orientate around the manager. That's what is undone Rangers. Equally, I would argue at the moment that Gerrard is the obvious appointment. And if the timing is right for him, if they can convince him that this is the right time to come back, because look, he's not got a pre-season. Does he have reservations about that squad? Is that squad built for the style of football he wants to play? And how has that developed since he left Ibrox? What type of staff can he bring up the road? So many questions surround this. But unlike the summer, Rangers don't really have the time to go through an array and a raft of interviews. They've got to get it ready quite quickly, because while Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi said in that open letter that everything is still to play for, not if things keep going the way that Rangers have been going, and already in the league they're right up against it. This is a decision that needs to be made quickly, and the argument for Gerrard is he certainly in terms of understanding the club and what he's walking into, he wouldn't need a couple of months to do that.
Yeah. What do you make of Kavanagh, Marathi, Steinson taking the lead on this? Thelwell and Stewart, of course, made a big mistake in the summer with the appointment of Russell Martin. What does it say about those two guys, Joshua, that the ones higher up are sort of taking the bull by the horns on this one?
Yeah, well, it's a different process as we understand it, Derek, in that it's got to be done quicker. And It's not to say that they aren't involved whatsoever, but I think it is to say that there is more of a hands-on approach. It would probably be fair to describe it as. Now, is that the right thing? Because again, if you look at Rangers' recent history, what has undone them is quite often it's not been sporting directors making decisions, or it's been the manager. In the case of, I don't know, Clement, he was kind of the head of the football chain of command. If you look at Michael Beale, when things started to unravel, it was when he didn't have that sporting director maybe leveling things up or becoming another voice in the process. Look, Gerrard is the obvious option, right? He's a clear and obvious option. No one it buys you time if you're looking at this honestly, because long term, if this doesn't work in a year's time, I don't think the appointment, I think it will still be criticised, but no one's going to turn around and say that wasn't the obvious appointment at that moment in time. My question about it would be, Derek, that Gerrard is not a head coach, right? And that is not to say that he's not someone who can work collaboratively. In this piece that we're putting out today, just reflecting on when he came into the club, Johnny spoke very well at the weekend about the whole suit tradition, and effectively Russell Martin, the mistake he made was it's not so much just not wearing it, but it's not wearing it and being seen to not respect tradition when so many people have. Make no mistake about it, if anyone coming up from England would have been excused for underestimating the Scottish game and trying to do it themselves and making it about them, it would have been Gerrard, right? Like he's someone who has that pedigree. He's someone who could get away with having an ego in that regard. But even if you listen, I think, to his interview with Rio Ferdinand, which I'm sure everyone watching will have, he speaks eloquently about building out a staff, complementing his weaknesses. And while he clearly backs himself, I think what he eventually got right, and the reason he was an eventual success, Derek, is because he didn't believe too much in himself. He believed in himself enough, but he also had that staff and that complement around him to make it work. But then if you look at a higher up level, while he worked successfully with sporting directors, the current setup Rangers have with an executive chairman and a vice executive chairman who are hands-on in owning the club, with a 49ers technical director, with a sporting director, with a CEO. That's before you get into recruitment and other levels of kind of executive, middle, top level management. Gerrard is not coming in to be a cog in the process that says, yes, I will take those players. Again, I think it's not to say that he won't work collaboratively, but if you appoint him, he's coming in as a manager. I'd be very surprised if he was appointed as a head coach and he's coming in to have a big say and have the project orientate around him. That's a fascinating aspect for me. Do Rangers go completely back on what they tried to do this summer? I've said a lot that I think it was a case of too much too soon, rather than trying to bed into that, build up a squad, do it over time. It was just kind of cold turkey. Let's go for it. Let's become a philosophy-centered club. And without the results, that was never going to have the road to run on. So that's the fascinating aspect for me. How does that develop? How does that work? And we should stress, if these talks go well, because it might not be the right time for him, and he might look at it and think, I'm going in here, what's the squad like? As I say, what is the season like? And Rangers do stress that they are talking to other candidates. But I think unlike this summer, there is a clear and obvious pick that would probably be the right one at this moment in time. That's the difference for me.
I think the noise surrounding Gerrard just now, I don't think the fans would be happy if it, well, the majority of them wouldn't be happy if it wasn't Gerrard now. Now, I've said my piece on Gerrard. I think it would be an exciting appointment. Whether it's the right one, I'm not too sure, I've got to say. But it seems
what's your rehash your reservations for me? I listened to a little bit on Tuesday.
Well, he's a failure at the two clubs he's been previously at, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know, listen, it was fantastic that season. Rangers won the league title. The invincible season, should have won a treble, should have won more than he did at Rangers. So that is my slight reservation on that one. And then, of course, Villa and Al Ettifaq were disastrous for him. So that being said, that interview he's gave to Rio Ferdinand, I was sort of watching that thinking, does he have the fire? It looks like he may just have the fire back in his belly there. And he says he wants to try few different things, might have learned a few different things as well. So you've got to take him face value with that, and he may very well want as he says, he wants another crack at it. So that break may have done him the world of good, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's one of those ones you go, bring Gerrard in, it's automatically going to be fantastic again.
No.
I don't really buy that.
No, but I guess my question and response would be, with a disclaimer that I think what Rangers had right ideas and right intentions this summer. I just think the carrying out and the implementation of that was so bad. So, for example, if you're going to appoint someone like Russell Martin, who's the complete really antithesis in terms of playing style to probably both Barry Ferguson and Philippe Clement, if your launch pad is an interim period that understandably Barry Ferguson wants to get the job, he's playing experienced players, he's trying out different styles of play, he's not really developing young players, to then go next month, right, clean slate, let's just go for something entirely new. When you've got 8 must-win games in August, it was done naively. I think that is if you're being critical about it, there wasn't sufficient. What's the phrase? Not sufficient criticism, I guess. Of well, okay, this is maybe what it will look like in best practice. Celtic have won a lot of leagues with an identity and by keeping the ball. Russell Martin has done this at different teams. But what about when you come up against a team like Club Brugge in the playoff round? Do you have a manager that is so dogmatic to his own detriment that only changes when it's too late?
I'd rather build Gerrard all day long European games.
Yeah, and instead of like building up, and I think in hindsight it's a wonderful thing, but what you really should have done is, if you were going to do this and be a philosophy, adopt more of a philosophy, and people will in the comments hate that phrase, and I understand that, but the idea being, if you look at what Rangers have done since Gerrard, he was like the squad builder there, and he worked with other sporting directors, Ross Wilson and Mark Allen, but he was like the continuity, wasn't he? He was the one that was there for a period of time. The point is, managers rarely get that time, for better or for worse. So you've got to have a broader idea than just them. Otherwise, your academy playing style changes every year, your recruitment changes every year, your squad changes every year, and it never catches up. And also, let's not forget, the reason that Rangers had repeated injury crisis year after year after year is because one of the biggest causes of injury is changing playing style and changing how and when you train. So the idea being, right, let's do something a bit more sustained. We'll build it with a CEO and a sporting director, and we can appoint managers within a rough, similar ballpark. There is some theory behind that, but where it has ultimately fell down is that it felt like no appreciation or not enough appreciation of the culture of the club and how that would work. Gerrard getting it is a far overused phrase in football, but he was really, Derek, I would say, the only manager in the last 15 years to give Rangers supporters a team that they could relate to, that they were proud of, a project that they could buy into, and he did understand it. And again, I think there was a humility to the whole process of him doing that people could relate to. Don't get me wrong, he made mistakes. That second season was terrible at points. There were so many twists and turns in it, but there was a much better fit, wasn't there? And if you get that fit, I think we can spend too much time theorizing and instead look at like, well, it did work. And also someone who I was speaking to recently who worked at the club at the time was saying to me, people focus way too much on what is this manager's style, and he was probably directing it at me. And he was saying, you need to instead think of, Gerrard was a figurehead and he had that staff under him, which allowed him to make decisions, gave him a bit of distance, basically allowed him to not be too hands-on. And if you look at from Clement to Beale and even to Martin, who's very hands-on on the training pitch and very hands-on in the recruitment to this summer and very involved in that, it's such a big role. And you need the right setup for it. You need the right personality for it. Of course, there's questions. Of course, I agree with you. It's not as if it's going to click right away. One of the big questions we can maybe get into is how would his style fit this squad? But it's also just about the only successful appointment Rangers have made in far, far too long. So the logic, you can understand if a lot of fans go, do you know what? I'd like to try that again.
Yep. Yeah, it's one that will unite the fan base. I think you touched on there, but the culture and the traditions. He's someone that will be wearing a suit. I don't think there'll be that hovering over his head either. And I think it's the only candidate you mentioned there. Speaking to others, I think it's the only one just now that Rangers can go and should be getting. Your point there on backroom team and backroom staff. I did say in that podcast recently he wants to have a few different people around him. So it will be interesting to see if he is appointed, if talks go well, who he brings up to support him. I think that is key, Joshua, as much as Gerrard, the figurehead at the top of the tree with regards to the team. Who he surrounds himself with is important. I can't imagine Michael Beale would be part of that, but it's important Rangers have some good coach. Now, Chris mentioned yesterday about the guys that Russell Martin brought in. Don't want to go two-footed on them, but they shouldn't be at a club like Rangers. I think it's just from the level they were at, I don't think they should have been coaching the players at Rangers. And it's important that the guys that are brought in have experience of working with top professionals and can get the best out of this group.
Yeah, I think Matt Gill was speaking to people was seen as quite a good coach internally, and I know at times maybe the training clips of wheelbarrows and whatnot didn't maybe do him as great a service. I think, and I wrote in the piece about where it all went wrong for Russell Martin, that I think set pieces under Mike Williamson didn't work well, and that was carried out in what we saw with Rangers set pieces at both ends of the pitch. You're right to raise Beale, because here's another fascinating aspect of the whole Gerrard question. Has he been successful without Beale? And it's easy to look at the parallels of things started to fall apart at Villa after Beale left. Beale was eventually brought back in and to Gerrard's job in the Middle East to try and turn things around that worked so successfully at Rangers before. And Beale, I know Johnny said a lot of the last week he left Rangers with a 72% win record. What undone him in that summer was, I think, getting too involved in recruitment, trying to form to a different extent, too much too soon, because the season before, it had been quite plug-in and play, and it had been quite impressive domestically, which is why so much optimism was built up that summer, and why that optimism fell off a cliff when things didn't click early on, and Rangers lost a few key games into their league season. The comment you raised a minute ago about Gerrard's coaching staff has changed, so therefore his style of play has changed. I don't think he would come back in and need to play with the high and wide fullbacks and the Christmas tree formation. I think that was an element of where football was at the time. And also, if you speak to people close to it, it's quite a model of what Liverpool were doing, which is where Gerrard and a lot of his staff had worked and learned. That squad isn't built for this just now. Does he have big questions about the relative strength of the squad? Because what we've spoken about a lot is there's not a new evidence spine from this summer, and a lot of money has been spent. Does he look at that and think, I need a lot more done in the January window? All these questions will naturally surround it. But I don't think he would be wedded to a certain formation. I think he'd be quite flexible. And there was a clip doing the round of him speaking when he first came into Rangers about not being wedded to a certain philosophy or brand of football. Again, that's a whole other conversation. And to what extent does that depend on his backroom staff? And then again, asking critically, if he's only been successful with Beale and he brought him back last time round when that was a surprise to a lot of people, how does that manifest into disappointment? And I'd be intrigued to see what the comments think. Would people accept Gerrard back with Beale as his assistant? How would that play out? I don't know. I think it would have been like impossible a year ago. Has that changed? I don't know. I'm interested to see.
I couldn't care less who he brings in, as long as they're good.
Yeah,
basically.
That's the trade-off, isn't it? Like, would people take it if it was successful?
Yeah,
success can cover a multitude of sins, can't it? So
yeah, just start winning games, basically. My demands are simple. So there you go. I don't care about a certain way, as Kevin Thelwell came out a few weeks ago, winning in a certain way. Just win football games, please. So yeah, intriguing stuff, and it's does he work? For me, it looks like Rangers have just wasted 3 months, Joshua. What are we on, October now? 3 months when, listen, you can get a managerial appointments wrong. Every club can do that. But they've allowed it to linger to this point. And I think that the league title is gone for me. I cannot see whoever comes in to get this team embarking on a winning run, a sustained winning run, and expecting the teams that are leading the way to drop a substantial amount of points. So, but you take the early wins. I think the Old Firm semi-final coming up in the League Cup is huge. If whoever comes in can get the better of Celtic and then go on and win that trophy, I think that is a big thing. Help Clement, if you remember when he came in at that time, it sprung both Rangers onto a winning run in the league and managed to claw back, an 8-point deficit at the time before hitting the self-destruct button. So you just never know what that League Cup win could do. But that's exciting stuff. Do you think, I asked Chris this yesterday, we on for an appointment before the team return against Dundee United, 18th of October, Joshua? Do you reckon that is doable?
I think it's doable. Rangers have been, I think, intentional in not announcing an interim coaching setup. Stevie Smith took training yesterday. We said earlier in the week that the initial plan had been that the players who weren't on international duty would have a couple of scheduled days off that were already there. And Rhys Owens remained at the club. Sal Bibble, the goalkeeping coach, has remained at the club. Brian Gilmore's been at the club for a while, and obviously, as was in the first team, hasn't been in the first team, has been involved in the youth and the loan setup, but took training with Stevie Smith yesterday. So there is the bones of a staff there that could take that game. But again, the argument would be, Derek, that if Rangers lose, how many points are they behind Hearts? Is it 11 points? I think it's 11 points. Is it
11 points? 9
I kind of stopped counting. I stopped counting after a point.
No, it was getting ridiculous.
It was getting ridiculous.
Yeah, we should have been put out of misery before it was.
Yeah, one more defeat, and that probably is terminal for the league campaign. Similarly, one more defeat in Europe, that probably is terminal. So you don't want to get a situation where Gerrard or whoever it will be walks into the job the week after that and suddenly has, a complete uphill battle in the league and in Europe. Simultaneously, with internationals only just coming back at the tail end of next week and with a trip away in Europe, you basically have no time to implement things. Gerrard is taking the mic off a bad karaoke singer, to use an analogy. Gerrard or whoever it may be, we're maybe getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but he is the obvious name. He is the standout candidate. So therefore, if you can put in a few performances that people relate to and get the team performing better and give them some structure and simplify things, there is a few quick, easy wins there. But equally, there'll be a lot of pressure to start well, because not everyone would be behind that appointment. If it is another project appointment, and I'm just kind of categorizing that as any other manager or head coach aside from him, but if it is another project appointment, but that you can you imagine the pressure they would be under from the off? And again, I don't think that would deflect the attention away from the club. So yes, I think ideally they'd like to have someone in place for that Dundee United game, if only because the season is already spiralling. You need someone to come in and help claw it back.
Thank you to Dean, who has kindly donated to the channel. Thank you, buddy. Says Stevie G hasn't been great since leaving us, but figureheads don't need that. Quintessential to the support track record of treble after treble. Colin Morrison also kindly donates to the channel. Thank you, Colin. If the Gerrard deal collapsed, do you think the next manager would be really up against it from the very start, Joshua? Based on the fact he's not him, sort of just tying in what we're saying there, isn't it? I think lots of comments come in since the league's not over, and I get isn't over, of course, but I think it's very unlikely. I think you'd get a bit of leeway whoever comes in, given the state of play just now. I don't think there'll be a massive expectation whoever comes in to go on and win the title. So there is that as well. So
I don't think it's over, Eric. I'm gonna take the opposite point of view. What, 9 points, 10 points to Celtic, 11 to Hearts, or 9 to Celtic, 11 to Hearts?
I still think there's going to have to be work done in January on the transfer front if things are going to go on.
Undoubtedly, but if you can claw back 3 points, and because it is so early, I don't think you'd be up against it, but it's not it's not absolutely impossible, because you have only got 1 win in 7 games. Hearts, to what extent they can sustain this is a bit unknown. Derek McInnes has done a fantastic job. So far, again, noises from Hearts is that there's been no official approach there yet, and they've recruited pretty well, certainly with a few exciting players, but can they sustain it? Celtic don't have their problems to seek, but Rangers haven't been strong enough to strike them when they're weak, which was, I think, best evidenced by that Old Firm draw at the start of the season. So I don't think it's over. I think it's unlikely, but I don't think it's over. That's why getting someone in for that Dundee United game, as difficult as it will be without much training time, you can't afford, I think, to go through 2 more games and not take maximum points, because if you don't get something away at Brann,
there's no wiggle room.
There's no wiggle room. And if you don't get something away at Brann, it's only 5 more games to go. I think it'd be really difficult to make it through. So that's why this again is so different to summer, because you don't have the luxury of a lot of time to get it right.
Yep. Big thank you to Gavin, who's kindly donated to the channel as well. Thank you. He says, Gerrard has that natural leadership. He knows his Scottish League. He certainly does. And he has the power to pull in players with the right staff. He can succeed. So he's well on board the Gerrard train. And Tom Scott says, I can't wait to hear the words, let's go. No doubt we'll be hearing those if it comes to fruition. But very interesting indeed. And we'll be keeping across it, folks. Make sure you're subscribed to all the social media accounts, to the YouTube channel, to the website. Make sure you've downloaded the app as well on Apple and Android. That's the best way to consume your Rangers review content as well. If there's any developments on that front, you'll be the first to hear it here at the Rangers Review. Just moving our attention slightly elsewhere, Joshua, you had a piece on the website yesterday on the academy position, head of academy, and the Wolves academy manager, Jonathan Hunter-Barrett, under consideration to replace Zeb Jacobs, who left back in April of last year. Of course, David McCallum's been working as interim head since Kevin Thelwell came in back in June, but it looks like Rangers looking to bring in another permanent head of that academy. Important position for you.
Yeah, I had to remember what piece that was, because it's a bit of a haze. But yeah, as Jonathan Hunter-Barrett, as Wolves Academy Director, as we understand it, it's been going on for a little while. It's not finalised. He had been the leading candidate. Understandably, there is other things going on and other priorities at the moment. But that academy director position is one that Rangers have been looking to recruit for since the summer. It's in an interesting place, the academy, because I think they made some good decisions under previous regimes to get ahead of the change that was coming. And what I mean by that is scrapping the B team because there's now an under-19s league, I think is right. I think that decision makes sense. Try and expose players earlier, get them out on loan, and it comes in conjunction with the Scottish FA's cooperation loan deal, which allows a lot of those under-19 players who are eligible for Scotland to go out and play for either Wraith Rovers, Stirling Albion or Alloa, and still come back and train and be part of under-19 games in the CAS Elite League, I think it's called, in midweek. So Rangers kind of got ahead of some of those changes. Obviously, then there's been more change, so you've not been able to develop that consistency. And we'll keep people up to date as and when we can if this appointment becomes official. He's got the background of working at Wolves, so again, there's crossover there with Kevin Thelwell in relation to those other appointments that were made, with Nathan Fisher as the head scout, Robbie Thelwell. Obviously, that's a story that we covered at length, and others as well. It's an important position. Naturally, I think it's been less of a priority this week than maybe it was last week, and as and when it develops, we will keep people up to date with that.
Yeah, we sure will. And before we wrap up as well, I've seen Dujon Sterling posted on Instagram of him on the training pitch and receiving, it's just sort of a journey as he recovers from his Achilles injury. But he says, I'm just looking at it right now. It's Joker soon, and then the little timer thing. So looks like he is nearing a return to action as well. I noticed as well, was there a song behind it? Let's Go. I've never heard that song before, but I wonder if that's a little cryptic clue in there as to what the future may hold. We've talked about Dujon Sterling before, Josh. It'd be great to see him back, incidentally. I just touched wood, and I've touched numerous bits of wood with regards to Dujon Sterling before, and it's not helped. But let's hope this is the time where he can steer clear of injury, because that boy has just been hamstrung ever since he got to Rangers with injuries.
Yeah, apart from, I think, a period where he was probably then overplayed a little bit in that, and he was relied upon instead of being built up. I think he could be a great, if we're talking about Gerrard, I think he could be a great centre-back. He could obviously play right across the back four. He would go straight into that team if and when he's fit. As you say, you've got to keep him there. As I understand that he's recovered a little bit ahead of schedule, and I think we spoke about it last week, that he's hoping to be back, as I understand it, in and around squads by the start of November, maybe very end of October, but I think likely the start of next month. So if they can get him back and get him playing consistently, it's the old adage, isn't it? But he's recovered a little bit ahead of schedule, which is always encouraging. And let's see what manager he's coming back into play under, or head coach. We will have to keep that phrase open until we know it one way or the other.
Somebody said he's missed a whole Russell Martin period, which he has. It's almost like he's just woken up from a bad dream, and then he can hopefully recommence his Rangers career. Right, that will do us there. Big thank you to Joshua. As ever, keep your eyes out for that piece on the website today, shortly, folks. And make sure you're following all the accounts to keep up to date with what is going on. Right, enjoy your Thursday, whatever you are doing, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.